Minecraft is a curious game, or rather, Minecraft is a game with curious players. Because in a sandbox of boundless possibility where the only constraint on what you can do is the limit of your own creativity, we as a community still think it's possible to award superlatives. We still think it's possible for a single person to be the best, the greatest at a game with no wrong way to play. We still think it's possible to crown a singular Minecraft GOAT. But I don't think that's true. I think that our individual experiences with the game of Minecraft are so subjective that the criteria we use to analyze goodness are inherently subjective too. There can't be a single greatest Minecraft player because Minecraft is a medium in of itself, an engine for creativity, and there's too many ways to be great at this game to count. The conditions for greatness are so vast and so varied that ultimately they become impossible to define. And so, when we say that someone is the best at Minecraft, what we ultimately mean is that they're the best at Minecraft to us. You get to choose who you think the Minecraft GOAT is, and I think that's beautiful. A while back, I made this video where I argued that, to me, B000100 is the greatest Minecraft player of all time. When I made that video, I didn't expect it would do quite so well, and I certainly didn't expect quite so many people would see it, let alone the man himself.
Frostbyte Freeman!
And similarly, I also didn't expect that a very vocal majority of the comments I received on this video about my earnest appreciation and sincere admiration of B-dubs would be about another, much more popular Minecraft YouTuber instead. Because apparently, a lot of people very vehemently disagreed with me, and a lot of people thought that someone else deserved to be called the Minecraft GOAT. In hindsight though, I probably should have expected that. In fact, you probably already know the YouTuber I'm talking about, because when I say the phrase greatest Minecraft player of all time, he's probably the first one that pops into your head. It's Etho. But we all know it's actually Etho, right? What about Etho? All jokes aside, it's probably EthosLab, realistically. Okay, but Etho though? I will not listen to a word you have to say unless you say the greatest MC player of all time is Etho. Etho, 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 Etho. I mean, like Etho, like come on, Etho. Realist, but really though, Etho. You get the picture. Now, does this mean that I've changed my mind from the relentless peer pressure of my comments section? Does this mean that now I think Etho is the greatest Minecraft player of all time? Of course not. It's still B-dubs. It's totally B-dubs, and I'll die on this hill until the day his checks stop coming in the mail. But when even my GOAT says that Etho is the GOAT...
I know you guys love Etho more than me, okay? And I know you guys think Etho's the best Minecrafter in the entire world, and you'd be right if you thought that.
I think the argument deserves at least some critical examination. After all, there's a reason Etho casts the longest shadow in the Minecraft space, and I want to find out what that reason is. Etho is undeniably great, but I want to know why. So let's find out together, shall we? Without further ado, I present to you the argument for why EthosLab might just be the greatest Minecraft player of all time. EthosLab needs no introduction. For 14 years, he's been consistently uploading his own peculiar style of soft-spoken Minecraft videos here on YouTube, be they Redstone tutorials, episodes of Hermitcraft, or installments of his Let's Play, currently at 588 episodes and counting, all of them broadcasted from the same world he started out on even after countless years and countless updates. Minecraft content creation on this platform has always been something of a shouting match, a contest to see who can be heard over the din of the throng. Classic Let's Players would force peppy, upbeat, overly exuberant monologues to garner attention, modern Minecraft event hosts harp on about the severity of the stakes and the challenges they construct, and clickbait thumbnails constantly claim to have built the biggest, have done the most dangerous, or completed the most difficult. But Etho never subscribed to this philosophy, never succumbed to the peer pressure to be something that he isn't. He just kept on being exactly what he is, kept being himself, and the results speak for themselves. For a channel with only 2.5 million subscribers, he's left behind an impact entire orders of magnitude greater than that. The indelibility of the mark he's left on the game of Minecraft is indisputable. much like B-dubs, he really is the quintessential YouTuber's YouTuber, the Minecrafter's Minecrafter. Now, before we begin, I feel the need to issue a brief disclaimer in order to assure you that this analysis will be conducted free of bias. Despite the fact that I play Minecraft, have white hair, and use a Kleenex box as my mic stand, I myself am not actually an Etho Girl. I know it sounds implausible, but it really is true. Even though I regularly watch his videos, I don't think I'm a big enough fan to be worthy of that illustrious title. Like I said in my last video, I first got into Hermitcraft through B-dubs in Season 6, which means that I was introduced to Etho for the first time through the game of Edvard tag they played together in Season 7. And that, in turn, means that the very first video I ever saw from Etho was this.
All I wanna do is and take your money. All I wanna do is and take your money.
Weirdly enough, though, I actually think that this is a perfect encapsulation of what makes Etho, well, Etho. It's an incredibly esoteric and extremely high-effort bit that requires a surprising amount of technical expertise to pull off. You need to have an eye for redstone, an ear for music, and a penchant for comedic timing to come up with a perfectly tuned no-block edit in a game like this. In short, it's the sort of thing only Etho could do, and it's also the sort of thing that only Etho would even think to do, too. That's why this clip was such a perfect introduction to Etho's style and sensibilities for me, and that's why it's still so memorable all these years later. It's this originality that makes Etho so unforgettable, and I think that originality across every aspect of Minecraft is what's made him into the consensus GOAT. So let's break down how Etho's unique perspective plays a part and how he plays every part of the game of Minecraft differently from your ordinary gamer. In my last video, I defined 3 super general categories for greatness that you can sort almost every Minecraft skill into: combat, redstone, and building, which are all fairly self-explanatory. Now, there are inherently going to be some problems with simplifying and sanding down a game as complex as Minecraft into containers this discrete, but we'll get into that in a little bit. For now, in order to just keep things consistent, we'll say that these 3 categories very roughly cover just about every facet of the multifaceted Minecraft experience. But there's one more category we have to add to this mix when we're talking about the greatest of all time, and that's impact. Call it what you want. Aura, vibes, energy, brand, X factor, je ne sais quoi, Kavorka. This 4th and final category is the secret sauce in the recipe for greatness, that pinch of spice that takes things to the next level. Impact is what a content creator contributes to the community of practice, and the ways they've changed it for the better. It's true that Etho performs at a high level in each of these 3 different categories, but breaking down the game of Minecraft into chunks like this helps us to appreciate how Etho approaches each unique aspect of the game through his own unique perspective on the nature of play. Got it? Okay, good. So let's start things off with one of Etho's underappreciated talents when it comes to the game of Minecraft, a talent newer viewers might be surprised to hear he was once well renowned for. Back in the day, when pre-1.8 PvP was all the rage in the combat meta, Etho was actually fairly good at PvP. Bear in mind, though, that this is all before netherite and gapple chugging became standard practice, before critical hits and shield disabling became a part of the meta. The game has changed a lot since then, and perhaps that above all else is what has led so many, even Etho himself, to believe that he's washed.
I think it's not that I think Etho is overrated. I think that his skills were from a time back in the day.
I can't believe we're
Who am I kidding? I'm washed up, beat-ups. It's all over.
You aren't washed up. Stop it. No.
So annihilated right now.
Cleo's right. She's right. I have no confidence anymore because of her.
Stop it.
There's gonna be a million people discussing this. I think Etho's actually pretty good at PvP. No, he's terrible. Have you seen him? It's gonna be the whole comment section now.
But even if Etho isn't as good at Minecraft mechanics and combat as the legendary warrior that is B000100,
looks like the hammer just found a nail.
he's still more than capable of holding his own. I mean, the man repeatedly ran Cub's Hermit Homedale Labyrinth until his nose started bleeding out of sheer determination to finish the maze in a single sitting. And who can forget his literal hour-long dungeon crawling sessions in Decked Out 2? Those were brutal, grueling affairs, wars of attrition where he pushed Minecraft's movement and mechanics to their absolute limit to stay one step ahead of the dungeon's never-ending horde of mobs. What about his iconic one-sided monologues with Rusty Willie and the disembodied voice of the increasingly irate Dungeon Master? Now you might note that I call this the combat portion of the video, even though I've yet to talk that much about actual combat. And that's because I'm adapting these categories from my last video on B-Dubs' Go Case. In that video, it made more sense to focus the content of my analysis solely on combat, so I could call into question the ultimate subjectivity of the criteria used to evaluate greatness in a game that places so much emphasis on the subjective experience. But in truth, there's so many different kinds of Minecraft combat, so many different metas and minutiae that maybe this section is better defined as actual game acuity, mechanical ability with Minecraft's controls, be it PvP or movement, parkour or speedrunning. All of these traits exist in the same general clade, so I'm going to be grouping them together for the sake of classification. And even though they don't all actually involve combat, I'm sticking with the combat tag just for ease of future reference. Etho might not be the best at modern PvP or parkour, but what makes him great regardless is his grit, his determination, his stick-to-itiveness. He's willing to grind out long hours in training to get the gains he's after, and his status as a literal hermit on the MCC practice server has become legendary, as has his pre-game training regimen. If he can't beat you outright, he'll outwork you regardless, and that's the part of his Minecraft mechanical ability that Cub's Labyrinth and Decked Out 2 best demonstrate. When Etho encounters a difficult jump in parkour, or a tricky combination to counter in combat, he won't rest until he's solved the puzzle and figured it out. His inquisitive nature simply won't allow it. Refusing to rely solely on his status as an old head, he's constantly trying to stay on top of the latest PvP developments, keeping his intellectual curiosity honed and sharpened by testing out and toying with the newest additions to the meta, like maces and wind charges. In the Life series, he's always a very credible threat in the early game on greens and yellows, and plays intelligently and protectively of himself. The only thing holding him back from winning the big one is his choice of alliances, which factor in most in the late game. Somehow he always ends up betting on a losing dog. To use a recent example that proves the trend, Wildlife best exemplifies Etho's struggle with picking sides. Despite, or perhaps because of the constant instability of the tough guys, he was constantly flirting with other alliances, perusing a partnership with the family before becoming a double agent for the Gs. This sort of instability and inability to commit ends up making more enemies than friends, ironically enough, and ironically enough, this indecision was also the very same thing plaguing Team Ties back during Etho's absentee father arc during Limited Life, too. But I digress. I think it should be self-evident by now that while Etho is definitely a hard worker and a highly competent, blocky combatant, he's hardly the greatest of all time at Minecraft mechanics. However, upon analyzing the next of our 4 major criteria for GOAT status, his case becomes a lot more compelling. Etho's name is synonymous with modern redstone. This man literally invented the hopper clock. His name has been uttered in the same breath as the technology and terminology he coined for over a decade now. And unlike so many pieces of redstone innovation that have become obsolete over the years, the hopper clock, or some permutation of it, has truly stood the test of time. When Etho builds something using redstone, he builds it to last, and it's the durability and longevity of his innovative designs that makes him one of the all-time great redstoning minds in the technical community, if only for his historical significance alone. See, throughout Minecraft's fragmented development history, redstone has received gradual tweaks, updates, and additions, and every now and then, new redstone interactive blocks end up facilitating the creation of new redstone components that achieve the same functionality as older devices with fewer inputs and moving parts. So the true test of any great redstone mind is their ability to think years ahead of the crude state of the game at current and anticipate the latest leaps and bounds in redstone technology. Here, I'll give you an example. A long time ago, back in the earliest versions of Minecraft, there was this large, cumbersome contraption made out of a lot of repeaters and water blocks called the Block Update Detector, or BUD for short. And though he wasn't the literal first person to come up with this contraption, or the first one to coin the term, Etho was on the cutting edge of its creation, an early adopter who saw the innovative potential of the BUD and took it upon himself to hone and streamline its design even further. Now I know what you're thinking. But Frostbyte, how can the BUD possibly be all that important? I mean, I've never heard of a BUD. People still make hopper clock tutorials to this day, but no one talks about the BUD anymore. It must not have had a very big impact after all, right? Well, no, you'd be wrong. Just think carefully about those 3 letters and 3 words that compose that acronym. BUD, Block Update Detector. Have you figured it out yet? It's actually pretty obvious. You know what the bud looks like today? Yeah, that's right. Etho is part of the reason that the Observer, and with it the vast majority of modern Redstone's computational capacity, even exists at all. No one talks about the ability to detect block updates anymore because nowadays, that's a facet of the game's Redstone arsenal that we take for granted. But back in the day, before the Observer even existed, Etho accurately identified the need of the player base for a device like it and championed its creation to the point where it was made an official addition to the game. There's very few Redstoners as meticulous as Etho. He's never satisfied, relentlessly improving on his wiring and circuitry, trying to better both himself and the game of Minecraft in tandem. Why else would he completely recreate his storage system every season of Hermitcraft, if not to satisfy his relentless desire to experiment, tinker, and push the boundaries of what's possible? Once again, I think a recent example provides the best evidence of the sort of stuff he's been doing all this time. Ravager Rush is one of the best designed minigames to ever grace the Hermitcraft server, and it's because Etho considers the challenges of the project from every angle, relentlessly playtesting it to perfect the system and make it convenient and intuitive for even the illiterate hermits to use without even reading the instructions. Inserting breakpoints into the note block music for Frogger so that the track doesn't confuse the player and continue looping after the game has already ended is the sort of little touch that might not occur to another Redstoner, but nothing escapes Etho's fastidiousness. And while we're on the subject, Etho's note block arrangement skills deserve some serious props. His rendition of 1812 Overture with Zedaf is genuinely impressive, and not just because the track is so musically volatile. The machine they built to play it was literally volatile too, primed and ready to explode at any second in order to imitate the original Tchaikovsky composition's cannon fire. Etho's ability to layer music and sound design directly into the blocky world around him in an intuitive and natural way is one of the most underrated tools in his Redstone utility belt, and it's just another example of his meticulous, demanding attention to detail along every stage of the Redstone process. It's this attention to detail that has made Etho a figure of all-time importance in the technical space. It comes as no surprise that EthosLab would rank so highly in the esteem of many as one of the greatest Redstone minds of all time. But what if I told you that I genuinely believe that Etho was one of the best, and indeed most fascinating, builders of all time, too? Etho's best-known building quirk is his inability to build an exterior for his base. It's easier to talk about his building skills in action on the Hermitcraft server since, unlike on his iconic single-player world, each season of Hermitcraft has a finite expiration date, an endpoint that lays bare the methods behind Etho's seeming madness. This makes it a much more convenient case study to point to by way of example for the purposes of our analysis here. At first, the incomplete state of so many of Etho's builds might not make much sense. After all, even his most successful projects and experiments like Ravager Rush still lack a finished exterior, despite being mostly complete inside. But of course, real Etho girlies know that the outside of a base is completely optional. And when you begin to examine the reason for Etho's philosophy towards building in Minecraft, the results are absolutely fascinating. In the real world, buildings are designed to fit inside of a set footprint. There's only a certain amount of land you're allotted, and everything must fit inside of that space. There are budget constraints and physical constraints and time constraints, all things that confine the imagination. And once you build the thing, it's over, it's done, it's been built, and now it just is. But when you build the outside, you're defining that footprint, you're limiting the scope of what it can be, constraining its possibilities to a set form. So what if you never built the outside at all? What if you just built more inside, and then more inside, and then more inside? What if you just let the inside spill outward forever?
So I do the interiors of my builds and then I try to do the exteriors. And the reason for that is it just gives you the most control. You can get the interiors exactly the way you want them, and then you have unlimited space to do the exterior exactly like you want it as well. So it's great if you actually get around to doing it.
Etho builds in the very peculiar way that he does because he sees the possibility in everything, no matter how big or small. Creativity is always pouring out of absolutely every nook and cranny of everything he constructs. How could he possibly confine or corral those imaginative ambitions? By thinking outside of the box and refusing to box himself in with exteriors, he allows his creativity to flow more freely, more organically, and that's what allows him to create such organic, free-flowing, sprawling structures in the first place. And I think it's these traits, his unerring optimism, his future-forward vision, and his boundless whimsical creativity that serve as both Etho's impact and his legacy. It's impossible to deny Etho's impact, both on Minecraft content creation and on YouTube as a whole. But his biggest impact on Minecraft, beyond even the countless gadgets and gizmos, beyond the suggestions he's actually had implemented into the game itself, his biggest impact, by far, has to be his Let's Play series, which is the longest running of all time. Over 500 episodes in, and even after all this time, he's still playing on the same world, save for the time he had to reset and recreate the world at the end of Season 1 due to pervasive problems with world corruption. But just think about it. This level of commitment to a single world and a single series is practically unheard of, especially after all this time, especially over a decade later. Other conventional content creators might reboot the world, reset, start over with a blank canvas in a desperate attempt to keep things feeling fresh. But Etho has always thrived precisely because of his unconventionality. And the reason why he never wants to build the exterior of his bases is the same reason why he never wants to give up on this same old world. Even now, he still sees only the possibilities, the potential, the plans for the future laid out ahead of him. He always sees the best in people and the world around him. Spurred on by his overwhelming creative compulsions, he not only makes but becomes the change he wants to see in the world. His most watched video ever is the very first episode of his Let's Play series. If that doesn't prove just how long the shadow he casts is, I don't know what else possibly could. The copy and pasted elements of his video description and channel bio haven't changed in eons, and still link to the artist who made his channel banner despite their profile having long since gone defunct. He never bothered to buy a mic stand because the Kleenex box was more convenient. Etho is a creature of habit. He's unlike any other YouTuber in the game, and yet his idiosyncrasies and eccentricities are what make him so special, such a singular talent. Etho's impact on Minecraft and YouTube as a whole is the way his unusual habits and quirks have become such a comforting constant in the lives of so many. Since 2008, he's been EthosLab, and since 2010, he's been uploading new episodes of Let's Play Minecraft. His schedule is unusual, unconventional, and best described as sporadic at best, but hundreds of thousands of people still wait on bated breath for each installment of the series. People have grown up watching Etho all their lives, and even after all this time, he's still the same soft-spoken and unfailingly dependable man, still reliably reliable. And there's something incredibly reassuring about that fact. He's grown and changed and improved, and we have too, but Etho reminds us that we're all still who we were deep down, which I happen to think is beautiful. Now more than ever, his gentle demeanor and quiet declarations of "oh schnappers," rather than ear-splitting squeals and shouts of melodramatic hyperbole, are completely at odds with the current culture of the platform and the dictates of beastification that drive most of all content creation. But Etho couldn't care less. He marches to the beat of his very own note block click track, and if you ask me, that's what makes him one of, if not the, greatest Minecraft man to ever sit before mouse and keyboard. That right there is the argument for why EthosLab might just be the Minecraft GOAT. So, taking all of that into account, does this mean that I've finally changed my mind? Have I seen the light? Do I now think that Etho is the greatest Minecraft player of all time? Pfft, of course not. It's B-dubs, baby. It's still B-dubs. Of course it's B-dubs. It's always gonna be B-dubs. It's never not gonna be B-dubs. Are you kidding me? B-dubs is just built different. That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. Are you kidding me? Come on. I mean, he did eat literally everyone else and every single other Minecraft YouTuber a while back, so by process of elimination, that has to make him the greatest of all time, right? And on that bombshell, I'm afraid it's time for this video to end. Let me know who you think the greatest Minecraft YouTuber of all time is in the comment section down below, because again, all of this is just my opinion. The GOAT label is completely subjective, and the answer is completely up to you. That's what makes it so special. I'm Frostbyte Freeman, and until next time, stay frosty.